Diablo 4 just had one of its biggest news weeks in a while. We finally got the full reveal of the Warlock coming with Lord of Hatred. Season 12 suddenly looks way more promising than expected, and Blizzard is making some genuinely huge quality of life changes on top of it all. Beside that, Path of Exile just launched its new league. Highguard is already shutting down in spectacular fashion. Xbox may be turning into a PC in disguise, and Time Quest 2 just laid out its roadmap for the year. Hey folks, this is Rhykker, and I dig into ARPG and gaming news so that you can spend more time playing games. Timestamps below to skip ahead to different topics. But before we move on, a quick word for this video's sponsor, Incogni. It feels like every month you hear a new story about a cyber attack or a data breach that results in personal information getting leaked, from passwords and email addresses to social security numbers and phone numbers. A few months ago, there was a Discord data breach where even billing information got leaked. A few weeks back, we had learned that there were over 180 million Gmail passwords leaked. And every time this happens, I'm like, crap, now I gotta change all my passwords. But meanwhile, our personal data is getting collected, aggregated, and traded like a commodity. And it's a lot of work for us to track down whatever unauthorized personal information may be out there floating around on the internet and get it taken down. But that's where Incogni comes in. It's a service that seeks to protect you by removing any unauthorized trace of you from the internet. They reach out to data brokers on your behalf, request your data be removed, and deal with any pushback they may get. With Incogni, you can at least feel like someone is fighting back to keep you safe. Here's my Incogni dashboard. You can see that I have 4 requests left in progress, and 189 have been completed. Incogni has also added a family plan, which lets you extend your coverage to up to 4 additional family members, as well as an unlimited plan, which introduces Incogni's custom removals feature, where you can point to any website that has your personal info visible, and then one of Incogni's privacy agents takes care of the rest. So go to incogni.com/Rhykker and use code Rhykker to get an exclusive offer of 60% off. Incogni helps erase you from the internet. They can't steal your identity, they can't find you. Click the link below to claim your 60% off and take your personal data off the market. Starting off with Diablo news. This week we got the full reveal of the Diablo 4 Warlock coming with Lord of Hatred on April 28th. I've got a full video breakdown showing gameplay I got to record at Blizzard HQ a month ago, talking through the skills and the different play styles of the Warlock. And I actually recorded my video on our best guesses for the second expansion class right before leaving for that trip, since I figured they were going to reveal the new class to us during that presentation, so I wanted to lock in my guesses before I went to Blizzard HQ. So if you saw that video, you know that Oracle was our #1 guess, ended up not being the Oracle, but damn, the Warlock blew me away. So do check out my video explaining why I think the Warlock is Diablo 4's best designed class yet. But apart from that, we also got the full reveal of Season 12 of Diablo 4, Season of Slaughter. And rather than starting on a Tuesday like usual, it's actually starting on Wednesday the 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific. And now that we have the full details, the season actually seems a lot more promising than the test server led us to believe. The big season gimmick that we did not get to try on PTR, we can transform into the Butcher. And when we do, it's a full skill takeover. Our skill bar is replaced with a bunch of Butcher skills. There'll be different ways we can become the Butcher. The first is via a new Helltide activity. You'll earn meaty offerings in Helltide, and you bring those to new shrines of slaughter, again in Helltide, to then turn into the Butcher for a limited time. And during this time, a bunch of monsters are going to come surging towards the shrine, like lambs to the slaughter. A second way you could become the Butcher, something really different, the PvP zones, the Fields of Slaughter. It sounds like they're replacing the normal PvP zone turn-in activity with the Ceremony of Slaughter, which, while active, will track the kills of those within, and at the end, the person with the most kills turns into the Butcher, at which point the idea is that you go around killing all the other players. That's actually a really neat idea. It may be too late into Diablo 4's life at this point to try to revive PvP, but this is the kind of stuff that could have made PvP interesting at the start. I'm just not sure there will be enough people participating in this for it to really kick off. Then the final way to become the Butcher, slaughterhouses. This is a new activity during which you will be the Butcher the entire time, and they're not giving us the full details here. They keep being mysterious about wanting to leave some surprises for us, but seems like we will be fighting good guys like NPC guards. I wonder if we'll even get to fight angels? And it seems as though getting kills as the Butcher is how we'll be progressing our seasonal reputation by collecting fresh meat as the currency. Now, the Butcher is the new mechanic we learned about, but that's on top of what we already knew, which was the kill streak system, where you have 5 tiers of increasing kill streaks. that not only reward XP and seasonal reputation at the end, but they also interact with the new Bloodied Items mechanic. Basically, any item that drops can additionally have a Bloodied affix on it, and there are 3 types of Bloodied affixes. Rampage affixes can appear on armor, and they increase in power based on your current killstreak tier. An example would be 7% more move speed per killstreak tier, so with 5 tiers, that's up to 35% more move speed. And you can theoretically have this affix on multiple pieces of armor, and so that 35% can stack to a whole lot of move speed, which is pretty neat. The second type of Bloodied affix is Feast, which can roll on weapons and applies a combat bonus. These give bonuses based on the total number of kills in your current kill streak. For example, every 40 kills, you reset 1 random cooldown. Then lastly, there's the Hunger Bloodied affixes, which can roll on jewelry, and these affect your rewards. For instance, elite kills will drop runes more frequently. Now, since PTR, they have buffed these effects to make them more in line with the power of Chaos Armor and Sanctification bonuses, which I think is going to go a long way towards making them well received. Then we have Bloodied Sigils. Nightmare Dungeons, Infernal Hordes, and Lair bosses can now drop as bloodied versions of those sigils, which, if you run them, they're going to drop more bloodied items, and they're also going to be about 1 torment tier higher in difficulty than your current torment level. So if you're in T4, it's going to simulate a theoretical T5. But then something new since PTR is blood-soaked sigils, which are turbocharged versions of those, which simulate a difficulty of pit level 100. That's a nice addition. Then the new unique items this season are all based around the idea of kill streaks without being tied to the seasonal mechanic. And they all drop from a new lair boss, which we didn't get to experience in PTR. The Butcher is coming as a new lair boss, and his arena seems to be similar to the Diablo 3 Butcher fight arena. And how cool would it be if one of the mechanics that we're getting this season would be similar to the Diablo 1 Butcher room? Like maybe the boss arena of the slaughterhouse could be based on the Diablo 1 Butcher room, like all bloody, limbs and table chopped up body stuff. That'd be awesome. Bloody Butcher, so much better than Fire Butcher. So that's season 12. Things, again, looking more promising now. I do have mild concerns that the novelty of being the Butcher will wear off, and what we're left with is a dressed up conduit shrine. It would be terrible if transforming into the Butcher makes us weaker. And also just some people want to play the build they built and not some other build, like the pre-made Butcher build. But honestly, with this being a shorter season, this is a great time to try something crazy like this. The PvP stuff, the Butcher transformation, these mysterious slaughterhouses. I'm glad Blizzard is taking some risks, and I do hope they pay off. Now, on top of that, patch notes are seeing updates to useless unique items like the Butcher's Cleaver, or Lochran's Talisman, and Dariel's Visage, so we're seeing some promising changes there. Hopefully, these items will actually see use now. They're also reducing the XP reward from defeating world and lair bosses, and they're fixing what was apparently a bug that nerfed the pit close XP, so we're free once again from lair boss jail, though honestly, with the return of pit XP, I'm not sure lair boss XP needed to be nerfed. It was bad that lair bosses became the best XP farm, but they should still exist as an alternative to pits for XP. The tower, while still considered a beta feature, they're making a lot of changes and they're planning to add rewards. First off, the changes, tower bosses will now deal significantly more damage. They're just rebalancing the bosses in general because they don't want the boss fights to feel like a slog. They're also reducing the number of enemies needed to complete the tower. They're adding 5 new tower bosses, 5 new tile sets. Treasure goblins killed in the tower will now drop better rewards. They're also removing 1 tile set that was too narrow and annoying to play through. They're fixing a bunch of exploits that people found. They're also removing, just from the tower, the monster affixes Shield It, Unstoppable, and Teleporting, because they noticed that players just kept restarting their runs if they ran into these affixes, so that's a great way of avoiding us going back to Greater Rift fishing like in the D3 days. They also teased that they will be releasing some rewards for the tower. Some rewards will be for advancing tiers in the tower, like beating your own personal best, and then there will also be leaderboard rank rewards, which will be some kind of status symbol to show off. They also confirmed that Solo Self-Found is still being worked on. Now, we also got some quality of life updates. All doors in all Nightmare Dungeons, we will no longer need to click to open them anymore. You can either walk right through or just break them. Our mighty warriors will no longer be stymied by a closed door. They've also changed how traversals work. Like when you're climbing, they will now scale the animation. It's going to scale now based off of your move speed, so it's just going to be faster now. And they've also just improved load times across all loading screens in the game. The channeling time for repeatable actions like summoning a town portal, that's been reduced and now maxes out at half a second. That's pretty huge. All those little like click this to channel like freeing of a prisoner or whatever, never ever going to be more than half a second now. And the threshold for damage taken before being interrupted while doing one of these channeled actions has been increased from 5% of your life to a massive 20% of your life. That's such a massive change. You're not going to be interrupted unless you take more than 20% of your life in damage in half a second. Oh, and the Omnicide cap has been raised from 1 million to 100 million. They didn't just times 10 it, they times 100 it. Now, apart from that, we also learned that the cross-IP collab this season will be with Doom the Dark Ages. Better late than never. Back when Blizzard first teased their first collab, Doom the Dark Ages was a common guess. I thought they kind of missed the boat on that, but turns out Doom the Dark Ages has some kind of like DLC coming out now, so I guess it does make sense to do it now. Anyway, throughout the season, there will be a Doom Reliquary where you can earn some Doom cosmetics via play, and of course, there's going to be paid ones in the shop. New this time, something about like killing lair bosses has a chance of dropping a Doom chest that's going to have like Doom cosmetics. Other cosmetics like the pet you can get from the season journey for free by earning it via play. Again, just by doing the season journey. And additionally, from March 11th to March 25th, you can get a bow cosmetic by watching 2 hours of Diablo 4 Twitch streams. You can find my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Rhykker. And now for players who have not pre-purchased Lord of Hatred, you'll get to try out the Paladin if you want, for free, up to level 25, from March 11th to March 18th. Now, level 25 really isn't a lot of gameplay, but it is what it is. There were a couple other little tidbits dropped during the presentation this week that I felt were worth noting. So first off, when talking about the Warlock, they mentioned that a core theme of Lord of Hatred is heaven versus hell, old versus new. So it makes sense that we have Paladin and Warlock as a sort of heaven versus hell parallel. We know we're going to a place with Lilith and Inarius statues. We saw that in like the promo material. That's the Cradle of Humanity on Skovos. But now I'm wondering, will angels be a big part of this expansion? How do you have a heaven versus hell theme without heaven? We know there's going to be representatives of hell. We're always fighting demons, but, you know, heaven versus hell. I think the odds of Tyrael appearing have risen, and maybe even more angels beyond just him. They also mentioned that for the expansion, along with a big skill tree rework, they're also touching every legendary and unique item, and that no class is being left behind. Apparently the team was constantly talking about how to elevate all the older classes to the same level as the newer ones, and they feel that they accomplished this with Lord of Hatred. Ever since we got the Spiritborn and seeing how well it was designed, I've been wondering, when are we going to get Barbarian 2.0? When are we going to get Sorceress 2.0? And I thought maybe like every season they can either do one class or maybe two classes. Sounds like they're doing all of them in one big update with the expansion. And this all just further reinforces that the meta is going to be completely changed with Lord of Hatred. This will represent the greatest disruption in the game's meta since launch. Then in the Q&A, they also spoke to the lack of an auto-salvage functionality for the upcoming loot filter. Basically, they said they're reworking the material economy in general. So as you progress through the game, the materials you'll need will change. So for instance, by the time you stop caring about non-ancestral items, and therefore with your loot filter you're going to say stop showing me this garbage, you'll also stop caring about the materials that you would be getting from salvaging non-ancestral items, either because you don't need the material anymore, or because you'll have such an abundance that you won't need to collect anymore. I like this approach, and I'm glad they expressed their intent here, because if things don't work out this way in practice, then we know that it's not by design. So for instance, if I do find myself running out of some material, and it's because my loot filter is too aggressive, then we can give that feedback that the intent is not matching the lived experience. Now, courtesy of Eurogamer, we also have some information on the leveling pace of Lord of Hatred. As part of a roundtable interview, they learned that while the level cap is increasing in Lord of Hatred, the time to reach max level will not be changing. And additionally, they're planning to rearrange the leveling pace. So the first 20 to 30 levels are going to take longer than they currently take, but the last 30 to 40 levels are going to go by more rapidly. I think this is a great change because in the current state of the game, you're basically level 10 in like 2 minutes of play and level, 20 to 30 within half an hour. We can afford to slow down the start, especially if it means speeding up the back end towards 60, the overall leveling time not getting any worse. Overall, very promising future ahead for Diablo 4, but what are you folks most excited about? Sound off in the comments. In other news, the new Path of Exile League launched yesterday, Mirage. The new Reliquarian Ascendancy for the Scion looks to be a solid addition to the game, especially in the long run where its powers will rotate every league, allowing for different builds. This current iteration did not seem overly powerful, but we'll see what players actually manage to do with it as the league gets underway. The new exceptional gems seem really cool, Void Shockwave especially. And with fossils not dropping anywhere other than Delve with this update, I'm really curious to see what happens to fossils in the economy. They buffed the rates at which we'll get fossils in Delve, so in theory, players who like to Delve should become absolutely rich. While fossils were not previously expensive, they also weren't difficult to come by. Now, the supply of fossils is going to shrink, meaning prices should rise. But what I wonder is, if fossils become too expensive, then will the demand for fossils drop as players shift their tactics towards other means of crafting? I don't know the game well enough to speculate an answer to that, but I do wonder what you folks think. Meanwhile, in an interview with Game 8, game director Mark Roberts said that PoE 1 will go on for decades and possibly even forever. Quote, "The responsible answer is that it will continue to be developed as long as it's financially viable. I cannot see a future where Path of Exile stops getting developed. If that exists, I'm unable to see it." He said it would take a, quote, epic tier global catastrophe / natural disaster for PoE to no longer be financially viable to sustain. So great news, PoE 1 fans. To think where we were a year ago, like a year and a half ago, fearing that PoE 1 was being put to pasture so that PoE 2 could take over, to now being reassured that GGG wants to keep the game alive for at least as long as Diablo 2 has been running. And in a separate interview with PC Games N, Roberts expressed that the team is aware of the problem with ground loot. They listen to feedback, they're working on it, and that this is a consistent issue they'll always be working on, so they always want to get that player feedback and be reactive to that. On to our next story. Highguard, the game that I never even got a chance to not play, because it's shutting down on March 12th. Let's recap the whole saga. Highguard was the final reveal at the Game Awards in December. Reportedly, Geoff Keighley had tried the game and loved it so much that he gave them that giant promotional spot for free. He truly believed in the game. Unfortunately, audiences did not, as the reception to what seemed to be just another generic live service hero shooter was not positive. The dev team went quiet until release, January 26th. The free-to-play game reached 100,000 concurrent players on Steam, with the devs reporting that in total, 2 million players tried the game. But after 1 week, Highguard was down to about 10,000 concurrent players, a drop of about 90%. And by February 11th, Bloomberg reports that an all-hands meeting was held, during which staff were told that the studio was out of money and that most of the 100-member team would be laid off. And as of this recording, the game is struggling to reach 500 concurrent players, and there are fewer than 20 people left on the team. Allegedly, a Tencent subsidiary was the main financial backer of the game, and because Highguard failed to even come close to hitting certain metrics like retention rate, Tencent pulled the plug. Now, some people blame Geoff. If the Game Awards had never promoted Highguard, then there would not have been so much online negativity about the game. Now, the leadership of the dev studio, their plan was to shadow drop the game without any lead-up marketing, just like what happened with Apex Legends. The leader of the Highguard studio is the former chief operating officer and general manager of Apex Legends, so seems he thought he could catch lightning in a bottle again. But at the end of the day, 2 million people tried Highguard because of Geoff Keighley. And if the game was good enough, those people would have kept playing. No amount of internet hate would have made people stop playing a game they were genuinely enjoying. Had Geoff not promoted this game, it likely would have released and subsequently shut down without any of us even hearing about it. I don't know what kind of metrics Tencent was looking for, But it's ridiculous to me that a live service game can be shut down in such a short period of time. Fortnite originally released as a PvE zombie fighting game live service, and it took 2 months of it putzing along as a tiny but beloved game for what it was, but tiny, and after 2 months they released their Battle Royale mode, and then it exploded in popularity. Imagine if Epic had just shut it down after a month instead because it hadn't instantly gone viral. If you're going to make a live service game, which just don't, by the way, but if you're going to, you need to ensure you have funding to survive long enough to actually have a chance to succeed. And in the case of Highguard, an external beta could have possibly saved them. Highguard attempted to do something actually innovative in this space. But that's why they really needed external feedback. You know, I saw some really basic things in player reviews, actionable feedback that could have ensured the full release was better received, left a better first impression on players. But no, leadership wanted their shadow drop because I guess egotism made them believe that the game was strong enough to go viral without player feedback. Guess what? Most games are not able to do that. That's a terrible plan, especially when your studio can shut down in a month if your plan doesn't work. But hey, at least they beat Concord. Although that does mean that in 10 years, people will still remember Concord, but no one will remember Highguard. And that's a damn shame for the devs who put 5 years of their lives into the project. Now, the devs did get to release one final content patch. There were 6 months of DLC that have been planned that are never going to see the light of day. But at least the devs get to release what they just finished working on: a new warden, a new weapon, skill trees, a whole account meta progression system. Such a shame that this game didn't even get a chance to turn things around. Then in some Xbox news, new Xbox CEO Asha Sharma revealed via tweet that the codename for the next Xbox is Project Helix, and confirmed the rumors that it will be able to play PC games. This sort of puts it in competition with the Steam Box as a living room unit that can play PC games. And if Microsoft can pull all the strings it possibly can to make the Helix priced as reasonably as possible amidst the insane price jumps we're seeing right now in PC gaming because of AI, then there may actually be value in buying an Xbox instead of, or in addition to, a PlayStation. This could be how Xbox remains relevant. But that's only if the price makes sense. And that's the same price concern that makes me wary of the Steam Box really taking off. But theoretically, Microsoft should be capable of more competitive pricing, again, by leveraging its long arm across global industry connections. And this confirmation that Helix will run PC games further lends justification to the idea that Sony is moving away from releasing their exclusives on PC. People pick a console largely off of the exclusives. And if Sony exclusives can be played on Xbox once they're released on Steam, then that's one less reason to own a PlayStation. Especially if the Xbox can just run everything and the PlayStation can't. Meanwhile, veteran industry analyst Michael Pachter thinks Microsoft has already killed the next Xbox by raising Game Pass to $30 a month, which he believes is too expensive for most people to buy into. He believes at $10 a month, Game Pass would be a major selling point for the next-gen console, but $30 will price out too many people. What do you folks think? Then in some Time Quest 2 news, we got the 2026 roadmap, and lots to look forward to. All slated for this year, we have the Wildlands coming as a major content update. We'll be getting crafting and summoning as new features, plus the Spirit Mastery being added to the game. In the second half of 2026, we can expect new chapters, items, enemies, bosses, quests, improved multiplayer, and more. While Time Quest 2 does not have a seasonal model like most modern RPGs, they are releasing major updates every 3 months, and every month and a half, they release minor updates with balance updates and bug fixes. How are you folks feeling about Time Quest 2? Sound off in the comments. Now folks, do check out last week's video in which we discussed Blizzard's tease at many more Diablo games coming in the future. Because that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more gaming content.